Hello, let's talk about this thing behind me here. This is something I built in my survival world just recently, and I want to share this design with you because it actually turned out quite good. I originally didn't plan to publish a showcase video about this one because it wasn't good, but with all the new improvements, this is actually a competitive Nether tree farm. My marketing materials are saying this is a reliable, non-duping, almost self-sufficient Nether tree farm with a decently high output. And the keyword here is reliable. So this thing I have designed and built for my redstone factory, which is a fully automated, and it's fully automated because I have autocrafting. So fully automated factory that is producing all kinds of redstone components for me. So it has to be able to run for hours and days and even weeks and even months. And I have stress tested this version, and it seems to perform quite well for hundreds of hours at least. That's the main focus for this machine. Everything else, even though it has a very good amount of stems it produces, that's secondary. The primary concern is I hate farms that aren't reliable and where you have to fiddle with them all the time because they break. And I want my farms to be able to run forever without me having to push buttons and turn knobs and clean up messes. And I think I have achieved it with this one. Let's get into creative and look at this in more details, because here I can actually take damage from the TNT. So here it is in creative. This will be available as a world download, this exact world. The only difference from what you see in the video and the downloadable world is that I'm gonna remove these command blocks, because these command blocks are running a custom script I'm using to refill bone meal and refill TNT so I can run tests for hundreds and thousands of hours. And yeah, the script is a little bit fiddly, so I'm gonna remove the command blocks. And, well, you will have to fill in bone meal and TNT manually yourself. Let's look at the overall general idea of how this machine works. So everything starts with this clock. This clock makes the pistons over there shoot every time, and this is so hard to record because the farm is too efficient and the pistons don't fire often enough. But every time this clock cycles, these pistons fire, and at the same time there is a dispenser below here, this one, that will shoot the nylium block that is over here. And since we only usually bone meal just one block of nylium, sometimes we bone meal more, but we're going to talk about that in a while. We only bone meal the one in the middle for efficiency's sake, but that can generate warped mushrooms on all 5 nylium blocks here. At the same time, the dispensers above here, these ones there, are spamming bone meal on the mushrooms, and sometimes they generate into the log. The pistons will then push the logs out of the way, because we can't have any new mushrooms generate if we have a log there, of course. And that is also detected as a tree has grown, and that sends a signal up here to this mechanism that dispenses the TNT. The way we dispense the TNT, first you saw these blocks of ancient debris all extend, so they push out any blocks that have generated just in front of them. We can see this in a second again. There we go. So the ancient debris extends to push the blocks out of the way. I don't know who invented this method, but it's a really neat method, and I've seen quite a few people use it, and I like it a lot. But we also do something slightly differently, and it is that we extend every 2 blocks, we extend 2 blocks, and it has to be 2 because I don't know any method to activate just one of the sticky pistons. It's actually quite hard because of quasi-connectivity. But we extend 2 blocks of ancient debris every 2 blocks, and TNT lands on it with pretty accurate timing. Not pretty, with very accurate timing, so that the TNT lands correctly. And ignore the visual glitches, they are just graphics glitches. The TNT lands perfectly every time on the ancient debris, because if it didn't, really bad things would happen. And you can watch the latest episode of my Let's Play series where I've been fighting with this for a very long time to figure out a good method to align the TNT correctly. But the TNT lands exactly on these bits here, and that is enough to blow everything up. Well, almost. As you can see, this blocks here, and the blocks up there end up not being blown up, and the same thing with this wall. And that might actually be the part that is making this machine not bone meal positive, so it doesn't generate more bone meal than it uses up. Some other Nether tree farms can do that, and it was an ambition of me, but I still haven't figured out how to achieve it. I have some ideas because, as you can see, this wall of warped warts does not generate on that side, and it is because of these blocks. And there might be a way to achieve that. The problem we have to deal with is that TNT can explode blocks through a gap like that. And that's why we need the waterlogged stairs here to protect the pistons. As you can see, we will see this in a second. There is water here that is covering the pistons, preventing them from being blown up. There might be a better method, but I haven't found it yet. And that is what is actually probably preventing all these from being blown up. And up here we have a dispensing mechanism for the TNT that is aligning the TNT quite accurately, and I would recommend you look at my Let's Play series where I've been trying to find good methods for a dispenser to dispense the TNT into here and align it correctly. In a second we will see how it works. The TNT gets dispensed, gets pushed by this slime here, and then it gets pushed by this slime here, falls down here. The top bit here, the last two ancient debris, they extend only to protect this hole so we don't blow up these fence gates. And these fence gates have to be there because the highest block where the warped warts can generate is exactly here. And if we didn't have the fence gates here, the warped warts could generate in here, which would be quite catastrophic. So most of the trees and other items get blown up. They land here, but as you can see at the bottom here, we cannot have any hoppers. And that's why we have dispensers with buckets of water, and the water is there just to flush the items into the loot system, which is just a million hoppers covered with ender chests, because the ender chests prevent the hoppers from being blown up. There have to be ender chests here, because as far as I know, that are the only blast-proof water-loggable blocks. I haven't found any other one. There might be others, but I haven't found any other one, and the ender chests work just fine. And we have to have them there because otherwise warts could generate in that block and destroy the water source and basically prevent the machine from collecting loot. Other bits that are worth mentioning is that we are pushing the logs out of the way, and eventually these logs have to get destroyed. So they go here, and it's like a piston feed tape mechanism. We push them up here, and we push them over here because this is push limit, so we have to move them to the side, and we push them even higher, and we move them out here. This is a recent addition that I just made, and this is because sometimes these blocks here reach push limit when the tree just generates wrong, and it's especially in the middle here. We can't really always be able to push this line of blocks away. As you can see here, the stem will protect these from being blown up, so now we are actually very close to push limits. And this is also the reason why we're pushing all these logs that high up, because it is less likely that a tree will generate here, which makes it easier for these logs to get blown up. In the beginning, in earlier versions of this machine, I have been pushing the logs lower down, and that was definitely a problem. And another mechanism to prevent push limit accidents is this thing here. Warped warts, sometimes stems, but usually just warped warts, are not perfectly reliably blown up right here. They almost always are, but this has been running for several hundred hours. So we push them to the side into this mechanism here, which is just also another piston feed tape-like mechanism that pushes these blocks back through here and out here where they can get blown up much more reliably. Generally, if you are working on a machine like this with the TNT perfectly aligned, you will notice that there is actually a big issue trying to blow up the blocks exactly in front of this bar of ancient debris. If this machine was supposed to run for just maybe 10 hours and then you go clean it up manually, this would be not necessary. I don't think most of these blocks have wrapped around and came back into the machine until after maybe 50 or 100 or 200 hours. And it's the same thing with the blocks in here. This is an extremely rare occurrence. Maybe once in 20 hours we get one block, but it could happen, so it is there because it caused a real issue. And like I said, reliability is more important than anything else. Another weird feature you might see here is these things here, and they are respawn anchors. They are the only blast-proof good light source that I have found that gives off high enough light levels. And that is because I am running this in a perimeter, and when I built an earlier version of this, the warp warts were just a mob farm. Lots of creepers and skeletons and zombies were spawning in there. So these blocks, there are enough of lights around here that provide enough light to light everything up so nothing can spawn in here. Continuing with the loot systems, the loot goes into filters here and exactly the same line of filters on the other side. Since we are generating too many items for one hopper line, so we need to have two. And we are filtering out warped warts here, another filter for warped warts, and that is because otherwise the composters cannot keep up. We have to have two. Composting shroom lights, and the warped stems go here, where you can, well, you can add whatever storage system you want here. This is up to you. I'm using a wool block here, of course, because of the hopper counters in the carpet mod, because I want to count how many items we're getting. And the loot system also has an overflow, which is this dropper here. For now, I am not destroying anything because I kind of want to see if anything weird ends up in this system. And also, when building, you might get blown up or drop your stuff. And, well, if you had a cactus here or lava here, things would go bad, and I prefer to be safe. Eventually, it might be a good idea to add a cactus here or lava here. It's your choice. It's up to you if you want to do that or not. In the worst case, sometimes a few items will spill out, and there's very few of them, and they will despawn. Shouldn't cause any lag or anything. The warp warts and the shroom lights that get composted, they end up in this hopper line here, go into this dropper, and yeah, this is probably the ugliest part of the machine, and it is the bone meal distribution system, which goes through a dropper line, dropper line, dropper line, and it is a dropper line because items have been glitching through solid blocks into the hoppers here. I have to use a dropper line to not pick up unnecessary junk into the bone meal distribution system because there was a buildup of bad items in here. Unfortunately, when you build this the first time in your worlds, you will have to fill in, well, you could either add bone meal to this chest somehow, or several chests, because the machine only wants to work when it's completely filled with bone meal, and it has to do with the system that I'm using for enabling extra bone meal. We're gonna get to that in a minute. But the dispenser here, 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 etc. There are 5 dispensers here. They have to be filled with bone meal, and so do the hopper lines that go all the way back here to these hoppers. They have to all be filled with bone meal. And the same goes for the dispensers down here. So there are 5 dispensers here. They have to be filled, and the hoppers here have to be filled. It's very hard to reach a good point where the machine is not running out of bone meal all the time, unless you fill it completely at least once. We do detect that we are running out of bone meal because this is not perfectly self-sufficient. When this line goes dark, or this lines go dark, then this torch or this torch will turn on, and then turning off this line, which locks this hopper here. And this is our external bone meal distribution system. So if you want to get external bone meal into the system, or when you need to add external bone meal into the system, you add it somehow to this chest. There is maybe space from this side, but probably this side is the best side to do it. It is very tight, I know. I don't really have a good solution for that. Another automatic system when things run out is controlled by this comparator here and this piston here. When this piston retracts, it means that we have run out of TNT, and we're using the wall trick to send the signal down here to this redstone block, which powers this bit of redstone. And this is important. This is the mechanism to turn the machine on and off. Do not use any other mechanism to turn the machine on and off. This is a pulse extender. This is a pulse extender that is very, very long, because we need to be absolutely sure that the entire cycle has finished and the machine is not active before we turn it on again. If you've seen my Let's Play series where I built this, so just a few days ago, this pulse extender wasn't here, and yes, this is a real problem I have found in my world. I was not filling the TNT fast enough, so the machine was flipping between having enough TNT and not having enough TNT, and this was causing spam, which basically made the machine, well, start itself multiple times, and it didn't blow itself up, but it was close. So this is very necessary to safely turn the machine off. We have to have this pulse extender. And I will now turn the machine on, and you can see this takes a while. It takes enough time to transfer a stack and a half to this, from this hopper to this hopper. Probably not necessary to have that long delay, but in this case it's better safe than sorry. Like I said, reliability before everything else. Another reliability feature that is worth mentioning is the way we recover when some of the nylium gets converted into netherrack. So nylium can convert into netherrack the same way grass can convert into dirt. If there is a block above it, if it gets hit by a random tick, it will convert to netherrack. And the way to convert it back is to hit it with bone meal when there is another bit of nylium nearby. And the way we do this is, first we're keeping always this block of nylium here. It is uncovered. It is also part of the clock, but that is just by accident. And it's funny. And the way we hit it with bone meal is that normally when the machine is running, only the middle dispenser here is dispensing bone meal into the nylium. But we are also having this counter here, which counts how many times that happens through this note block and the observer here. It's a little bit awkward mechanism. I had to retrofit it, so it might not be the prettiest fit, but it works. And we're counting how many normal activations this thing has had, so how many times the pistons have extended and how many times this dispenser has activated. And by the way, the reason this dispenser activates is because it gets powered through quasi-connectivity through these target blocks, and this note block updates it. Nothing updates the other dispensers, so they don't get activated. And after we have counted, is it 60? No, it's supposed to be, of course, 64. And after we have counted 64 activations of the normal mechanism, we send the signal through this observer, through these rails, to activate all these dispensers twice. For some reason, this dispenser sometimes gets updated, and I don't know through what. And when it gets updated, it gets powered, and then we have to shoot it twice with this observer to make it work. But it's fine, it works. So, let's talk about efficiency. As you can see, this farm is now running behind me, and it has been running for at least 100 hours. Let's see where we are at now. 6,632 minutes. That's over 110 hours. So let's stop the tick warp because it's been going on forever. And this is not the first time I'm doing a long-term test on this machine, by the way. And I think the previous test ran for 300 to 400 hours before I discovered this issue, which I'm fixing here. And, well, apparently only the middle logs are a problem and not the side ones. But we're gonna keep the side mechanism anyway in case something bad happens. And the test before that ran for, I don't know, 200-300 hours before the machine went bad. I didn't really catch it when it went bad. It wasn't anything catastrophic. The TNT was always aligned. It didn't blow itself up. The only thing that happened is that 4 of the nylium here got converted into netherrack at the same time, something that is ridiculously unlikely, but then I changed the mechanism here for how often we trigger the dispensers up there. But efficiency, we want to see efficiency. So the first thing we are gonna do is counter. We actually got some bone meal overflow, but that is just, I don't know if we can call it luck or what we can call it, but sometimes there is a big burst of bone meal, but generally we are using bone meal. We're gonna look at the number of bone meal that we have used in a second, and we got 1551.8 stems per hour, and that's where the numbers are hovering around in the past 20 hours of running this or so. I'm running the counters once in a while just to see what's going on. So we're gonna call it 1550 stems per hour. I don't know where the roots come from. If you're having shulker box loaders, you might actually be careful about this. This might be an issue that you need to look out for. I have no idea how the roots get into the hoppers. I've seen this before, and my only guess is, well, actually I don't have any guess, because the stems are coming through this filter. The filter is filtering correctly. This is what counts them. And all the hoppers over here are covered, so I have no idea how the stems could end up in the hoppers here. There is just no way for them to do that. All the hoppers are covered, or have a hopper above them, or are part of a filter. Something makes that happen, and I don't know what it could be. So 1550 stems per hour, and let's see how much bone meal and the TNT we're using. So the first number, the output here isn't as pretty because it's a script I have written, because I have a script that is filling in this dropper here with bone meal whenever we use bone meal, and I'm doing the same for TNT. So the first number is how much bone meal we used. We used 23,795 bone meal. Let's do some math here. 23,795 divided by 6641 divided by 60. We are using 215 bone meal per hour for this entire thing. Of course, most of the bone meal is generated by the machine, and it's a little bit of a failure that I haven't managed to pick up enough stuff to always be bone meal positive, but it might be possible, but I haven't managed. And, well, the numbers for the TNT might not be as good. We are using 0.7 TNTs per stem. Or in other words, we're getting 1.4 stems per TNT. It is quite expensive. You probably want to have renewable sand and auto-crafting to be able to use this machine effectively, because the amount of TNT this uses is quite big. This shouldn't be too hard to convert into a TNT duping version. We just have to make sure that whatever TNT falls down this hole, well, is perfectly aligned. And then there is some timing, but I suspect that the only timing that would need to be adjusted is on this long repeater line here. If enough people ask for it in the comments, I'll try to make a TNT duping version. But, well, I designed this. I didn't expect to publish this, but it turned out so good that, well, that I did. But this was designed for my redstone factory only, and there I have auto-crafting and I have renewable sand. And there will be a world download in case you want to build this. The only thing I need to mention before you build this is that all the blocks here, so up until this row of observers, because these observers here are the ones that are detecting that a log has generated. So all the blocks from here to here need to be there. They don't have to specifically be logs or warped warts. They just have to be some block that can be powered with redstone because they are necessary for sending a clock signal from this clock here through this node block up into, oh, it's very hard to see, but up to the dispensers here. The dispensers here are powered by a line of observers above here, and we need to send the signal from this clock to this node block through, well, the log in this case. So if you're building this and you don't have any warped stems, just put cobblestone here and that should work. From here, the logs and warts don't have to be there, but I'm gonna leave them in the world download just so we can leave this in exactly the state it is right now, even with this unexploded stuff here. But I'll remove this block just because. And as a last note, in case you want to mess around with this in creative, I have left some instructions for how the script that refills this dropper and the dropper above here, this dropper. This is the dropper with the TNT, and the dropper with bone meal is here. The script is kind of awkward to use, and it's a bit of a pain, and you need the carpet mod to be able to use it. That's why I didn't leave it connected. But if you want to power this command block, the command block just does this command, and the rest is implemented by the script. I would just place the command block here. It's probably the best idea. Anyway, that's about it from me today. Like I said, if you want the duping version, yell at me in the comments and maybe I can make one or show up on Discord and we can discuss it. If you have any other questions, leave them in the comments and I'll answer anything I understand. Thanks a lot for watching and have a good wood blasting. Bye.